How's it going, everybody? I'm going to be trying to pack in a lot of information in this video as quickly as possible, starting with the zombie poll is live. If you haven't already, make sure you go and vote before the reset, and then vote again, because we get free energy and cores every time we do this. I think it's 50 of each. People have been asking my thoughts on this. Who do I want to win? Who am I voting for? I don't want to skew the vote. I don't think I could personally skew the vote anyway. No one cares what I want. But I'll give you my opinions on these characters. Sable, really cool character. He's kind of like Apocalypse's rival in the comics. But in Marvel Strike Force, he's always been an afterthought. Making him a zombie kind of fits the, the hardcore characters that we have right now, like Scarlet Witch Zombie, like Hela. Zombie Iron Man and Zombie Juggernaut, they're kind of more like meme characters in my opinion. So I don't really think that meshes too good. I'm not very interested in Cable myself. Cosmo the dog. I like dogs. I don't like Cujo. I don't want to be afraid of dogs. I don't want to see a zombie dog. It's just as simple as that. Also, people are like, oh, well, it would be like a support character. Yeah, I don't think the Undying team needs supports. They're all about just punishing the enemy by having their own power and canceling out certain like speed effects and stuff like that, right? So what I want the next character to do, I just want them to do more damage. I want Zombie Juggernaut to have another damage dealer with him. Kestrel. Kestrel would be another damage dealer. Yeah, Kestrel being the Scopely original, the OG. Really good character, but people are confused. This is not going to be a rework to Kestrel. This would be a brand new Kestrel, which I'm not opposed to, but it's not per se going to have her exact kit where she's putting defense down everywhere and she's doing pings. Maybe they would want to preserve that, in which case, like, that'd be a really cool pick. I'd really like that. She'd be my second choice. Squirrel Girl. They did her dirty by this. I don't know why they made her look like, anyway. I wish they just took comic panels. Like, hey, I don't like the way the Squirrel Girl looks. But I like the idea of throwing zombified squirrels that explode at people. I feel like they would take sort of inspiration from Marvel Rivals Squirrel Girl, where there's exploding acorns, exploding squirrels. Like, I think that they would actually make her a damage dealer. And that, to me, is a really, really exciting prospect. I'm voting for Squirrel Girl. Kestrel will be my second pick. Cable will be my third. And Cosmo, oddly enough, would be my last pick. I guess we'll see how it shapes up. I kind of like this blind vote. This blind vote's kind of cool. All right, but let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. The supply store, Intel store stuff that we talked about yesterday in that strike spot. Lots of clarification here. So the strike spot was really good. Lots of good information there, but this gives us a lot more details, a lot more in-depth context. So we're going to go over it because I think it's really important. The Age of Annihilus not only deserves an epic new storyline, but it deserves simplified stores. That's the point of this. Simplified stores and currencies to enhance gameplay. We've navigated a vast array of campaigns, events, and game modes over the past 7 years with many of their own unique currencies. The gradual increase in complexity has made event participation and resource management challenging. Currency balancing eventually became inflated, creating imbalances in game modes, stores, and narrowing distribution methods for valuable items. So if you want to know what they're talking about, look no further than like any sort of veteran player who might have, as you see, 17 million raid credits. I only have 16,000 Blitz credits right now, but that's only because I just did a huge dump to get a bunch of gold. Arena credits, I have 600,000. If I go over to war, you see millions upon millions. So it's because of the people with giant hordes like myself, I have nothing to buy in those stores. That makes sense. That they kind of had like a decision paralysis where they can't put gold in the raid store because all of a sudden everyone's never needs gold ever again. If they put in a Awakened Ability material in there, it just gets bought up immediately. Like right now, Miss Marvel Classic was in the Crucible store. I will buy her up every single time I see her. Within 2 weeks, I'll have her maxed out. And I'll never look at that currency again. It's not really well balanced right now. So here we go. The solution. We're simplifying the game economy by focusing each chapter on one main currency and introducing a new store packed with the high value items you want. So 2 major topics. What is the new currency in the store and what are they doing with the older currency? Intel store and chapter rewards. Each chapter in the Age of Annihilus will feature its own special store, with chapter 1 store being called the Intel store. These stores are similar to the monthly and seasonal event stores we've seen before, like the Turkey store, not like the X-Coin store, which is just gear. There's gonna be lots of stuff in these. The difference, each store is like Nick Fury's personal supply cache to help you in battles to come against Annihilus and his forces, so make sure to check out the store often. The new store will have many valuable items, including new character shards. This is a big one, because they mean new character shards. So like right now, Star Jammers would be available in that store. You know how like After I think 3 or 4 months, they put them in the Battle World store, and then after about a month of that or a month and a half, they end up somewhere else. So they would be there by now. So we could be farming Havoc, Howard, whatever the case may be, to get our Starjammers to like this super usable level. And maybe even sooner. Maybe we'd be able to farm those characters like right after their offers go live, because we would have a not infinite source of this supply or intel currency, because you're going to see in a little bit how we're going to earn that. Valuable Crimson gear, that'd be gear tier 20. Purple ISO 8, great for people who are trying to get Odin still. L4 training materials, and other major resources. It could be awakened ability materials. This could be like diamonds on characters. It's stuff that you're going to want. Additionally, all new characters will be available in this store at specific points throughout their chapters. I buried the lead. There you go. Making them unlockable and more powerful sooner than ever before. That means you can climb the ranks in your favorite game mode and dictate play with a powerful roster sooner than ever before. We know you want more agency, and how you develop your roster in the Intel store will be one of the best ways to unlock and power up the newest squads. Intel. Each chapter's Intel store will offer up some of Marvel Strike Force's best items, but to earn them, you'll need Intel, the main currency you'll rack up over the course of each chapter. The best part, you'll earn Intel just by playing the game. No purchase necessary, so they're not going to be selling this Intel currency in the web store. Participating in events, using the command center, and battling in-game modes and collecting milestones are several of the major ways you'll earn Intel. Okay, so you will be buying it. It's just with more steps, right? They'll put it in later milestones in a bigger quantity, which are really only reached by spending money. But that's true for every other resource in the game right now, so that's fine. As long as everyone gets a meaningful amount, that's all that matters. With more opportunities arriving in the future, the more you play each week, the more intel you will earn for big rosters. It's important to note that at the end of every chapter, all of your leftover or unspent intel will be converted to a legacy currency, which they're going to cover in the next section, before the cycle begins again. We'll let you know beforehand when this happens, with several reminders in the blog leading up to the conversion. So stay tuned for those dates. So this is what a lot of people are concerned about. So if each chapter is going to be getting updated, is what Ryan was saying in that Strike Spot. Ryan Jacobson, the general manager of the last Strike Spot video. Will I want to hoard for the first third of chapter 1 to see if all the best stuff is in the last half or last third of the chapter 1 life cycle? And the answer is, well, if you do that, maybe you're not going to be able to spend it in time. Maybe character shards that were in the first half were Starjammers, characters in the third half are Vigilante, but you can't go back and get Starjammers, right? So we'll see how they modify that, because they will have to find a way to make sure people don't want to hoard this, because hoarding's unhealthy and it leads to really kind of yucky stuff. So hopefully that won't be the case. Supply credits and the supply shop. Here comes all the stuff that we currently have. With the Intel store providing the newest items in Marvel Strike Force, we still want to ensure easy access to all other resources and shards that form the foundation of your roster. That's our current stores right now. So we're streamlining the experience by significantly reducing the number of currencies available and converting many into supply credits, a long-term general-purpose currency that can be spent in most game mode stores, and eventually a new supply store. Eventually a new supply store. We may update these names in the future before their introduction. Think of the supply store as your one-stop shop for everything not in the chapter store. Many of the items you already know from the current stores will eventually be housed here. We know you worked hard to acquire your war chest of game mode currencies, so we want to ensure that your hard work will still provide value. Hold that value over time and allow you to power up your roster. Unifying the store currency. So after the Age of Annihilation begins, the following currencies will be converted into supply credits. Blitz, gear credits, this is part of the Blitz store. Arena credits, raid credits, elite raid credits, war credits, elite war credits, cosmic crucible credits, elite cosmic crucible credits. Essentially what they're doing is they're taking these 5 tabs at the top. The Blitz tab, the raid tab, the arena tab, the war tab, and the crucible tab, and they're going to be just converting all of the currencies you get for playing those game modes into one universal currency, but all these stores are staying here for now. So people are freaking out, like, okay, what about my Blitz orbs and my Catalyst orbs? Like, the Catalyst, they actually, know what? This is interesting. The Catalyst orbs, I think that's part of the conversion, okay? This is a real example. But for your raid orbs, your Spotlight raid orbs, you're keeping those. Armory 20 orbs, you're keeping those. You're going to be keeping all your orbs. These stores are still here for now, and they will eventually become just one store. So instead of having these 5 tabs, we'd have 1 tab, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that, because realistically, in my opinion, all the characters in the Blitz store all the raid characters, not just in the store, but everyone in the orb, all the arena characters, all the war characters, again, not just in the store, all of them that are ever available in the war, they should all be available at all times. This would be super duper helpful for players, right? Very, very helpful. So things that are not going to be touched by this, your like red star / diamond resources, they're not going to be touched. Scopely still needs to figure out what the heck they're going to be doing with characters like Old Man Logan, Shadow King, and Mephisto. Why are they not in the store yet, right? It's really silly that Old Man Logan at the very least and Captain Britain are not in this store. That's ridiculous. They still need to figure that out. What we're talking about here does not help them in that regard because they're not committing to doing those kind of changes unless they start putting those diamonds in the Intel store, which it shouldn't be there because those are, in my opinion, older resources. We shouldn't be having to fight for those right now. And eventually these 5 tabs go away. It just becomes 1 tab. We need to make sure, and we need to push for this 100%, that that there has to be in the eventual supply store, the legacy store, whatever they're going to call it, there has to be training modules there because there's training modules in the arena store, and we can't let them take away those very, very, very required training materials. We understand that not all stores are equal in terms of the value they provide, so in an effort to uniform our game mode currencies, we will also adjust store costs so they bring equal value to you. Since all game mode stores will eventually swap to using supply credits, we will equally adjust each of the game mode currencies you receive in the conversion to match the change in item costs in each store. We want to make sure it is clear that you will not be losing any currency value to this conversion. Basically what they're saying right now is there will be a conversion that's different for each store tab between Blitz, Raid, War, whatever the case may be. There's going to be a cost change for all the character shards and other stuff we see in the stores, but the conversion to the cost of the items will be the same as the conversion, or less than. They're saying we're actually going to get more value. Will be the same as the conversion applied to Crucible credits. So let's say the cost in everything in the Crucible store goes up by a factor of ×2, right? Everything costs twice as much, but now it costs twice as much supply credits. Well, your Crucible credits that you currently have stocked will get multiplied by like 2.5. So you're not going to lose actual value on what you have hoarded. And this is going to be really important for like mid-game players that don't have everything maxed out in there. And then there's a conversation to be had at the end of this about like new players and everything that you still need from those stores on the journey to the end game. Okay. We also want to share that when the conversion happens, all players will receive a bonus amount of supply credits. The number of the bonus still being determined, but overall you will end up with a net gain in total supply credits. We just said that. Conversion dates will be communicated through our blog and in-game notifications. Continue using your currencies normally until then. Any remaining balances will be automatically converted on a communicated date after the age begins. Store tabs. One last note. Although their currencies are being converted to supply credits, the individual store tabs aren't going anywhere for now. You'll still be able to spend supply credits in the various store tabs on items and resources. We'll better organize and consolidate the store tabs in the future so that the stores will be easier to use, so keep an eye out for an update there. The future of the store. There was a lot covered here. We hope these updates will simplify and enhance Marvel Strike Force. I think they will in the end. Allow everyone to focus on finding the mysterious legendary characters and eventually defeating Annihilus. In summary, playing the game will earn intel, which is the main currency to focus on. So like when you do a raid fight now, and it gives you raid credits, you're going to get intel credits instead. When you do a war fight, you get like war credits every single time you take out an enemy. Well, now it'll be intel credits instead. So this is just going to be a universal currency. It's way, way better. And it's going to be used for a store. And the best part about this store is because it goes away every 3 months and a new one takes its place, they will be forced to keep it updated in a timely manner. So that's really, really good. Okay, you can spend intel to buy the new hotness in the store. Each chapter and its related intel store will last 3 months. At the end of 3 months, any unspent intel will be converted to the supply credits. It's sort of like legacy system. Supply credits are used in the game mode store tabs first before eventually finding their new long-term home in the supply store. So we will be getting one consolidated store eventually. The supply store will eventually contain most items from each of the game modes, plus some additional items. Older mode currencies will also be converted to supply credits at a point after the age begins. Part of your roster will soon be easier than ever. Worry less about juggling currencies. And we still have time. You can ask some questions. There's going to be a Q&A tomorrow. We'll be covering that Q&A for sure. And they're going to answer a lot of questions. Probably nothing about overpowered would be my guess. But I'll be interested to see how they handle the plethora of questions they're getting there. This is just an overall good. And they've answered a lot of the questions. One question they didn't answer here that somebody should definitely make sure they ask. How does a new player who's now going to be getting all of this intel currency convert that intel currency to be used in the old legacy stores without having to wait for a chapter to end? This question was asked on stream. There's a super easy solution for this. In the Intel store, there should just be a slot where you can convert your Intel currency into this supply store currency, and then you just go over there and you spend it, right? That's the easy way to fix it. I think that's what they're going to do, but somebody should ask for clarification on how that's going to work, because you don't want to have to wait 3 months to get a big horde of the stuff, but it's like, okay, well, I don't care about this stuff as a new or mid-game player. All this new hotness, I don't care about that as a new or mid-game player. I want that old crap. I want to go farm Gambit shards for whatever reason, right? So make sure you ask that question. I think this is a net positive for sure, for sure, for sure. But let's talk about some current pressing things. So this is a problem for tomorrow. What about a problem for today? Silver Sable is being released today. Should you go hard on Silver Sable? Should you core for Silver Sable? Should you buy Silver Sable? Well, let's take a look at her kit real quick. She's obviously a raid character. In raids, clearing barrier, attacking primaries. I guess we could do T4s real quick. I'll do an infographic on this tomorrow for all you guys. In my opinion, she's a raider, by the way. So, her special, clearing barrier, attacking all enemies, applying slow and bleed. Her ultimate, this is the big ability. Apply heal block for 2 turns, disable for 2 turns, clear barrier from all enemies in raids, clear charge. Attack all enemies for 280% damage, apply 1 vulnerable on war offense. There's at least 1 villain. Apply trauma in raids, blah, blah, blah. This attack gains 5% extra focus, cannot be counterattacked. The T4 on offense. If this character has 4 or more vigilante allies, reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 on all enemies. She needs 4. My point here is I would not be coring for Silver Sable in the hopes that she is going to be an answer to the skill raids without Hitmonkey. I would save my cores for Hitmonkey if all I care about is raids. Let's continue on though. In raids on spawn, fill speed bar by 15 plus 5% speed bar per vigilante ally for herself and all vigilante allies. On successful attack by this character, apply defense down to each attacked target. On offense, while this character has 4 more vigilante allies, lower enemy dodge chance by 100%. If this character has, again, 4 more vigilante allies, enemies cannot gain death proof. The focus of this character can only be reduced by offense down. And the T4 in raids when an enemy that has a vulnerable is attacked, fill speed bar by 15% for self and all vigilante allies. This is actually really good, not even on her team, right? So here's what I would suggest. First of all, T4 on the passive and the ultimate, 100%. Flip all positive effects and negative effects on primary and adjacent targets. Yeah, I would say you T4 the special as well, and I would just hard pass on the basic. With Hitmonkey's eventual passive, you're never going to use the basic in raids, so it doesn't really matter. I guess if you can use a plug and play, a little bit of value, nothing crazy. I can see a big Punisher and a big Silver Sable pairing up with, say, Endgame Thanos, Black Knight, Captain Sam. I could see them beating 1 node. 1 node. Not all 3. Not even the 2. 1 node. Because until we can get through the safeguard, until we have this decay effect that she needs her entire team for, all the nodes spawn with a safeguard issue. The first node, there's a big gladiator. If you can't get off the gladiator and onto the big kill targets, you're going to get wrecked, right? And there's just too many enemies. There's the Bionic Avengers that eventually come in, or the Pegasus members rather, that eventually come in, and they just have too much control. You get mowed down. The second node, there's the Sasquatch, all the X-Men. They have the safeguard too. Until we can get by this, which we can't till we have the 4 vigilante members, we can maybe get through 1 node simply because she will be gaining speed bar and giving speed bar to a Punisher. And she does, what is it? Heal block, disrupt to all enemies, which is great. She also does something with defense down. I think that was on her special. So she can kind of set the stage for Punisher to mow just a bunch of people down, which sounds great. And he'll probably get multiple turns because your Captain Sam, your Black Knight, your Endgame Thanos will be hitting into a vulnerable, which is going to be giving you speed bar. I forget what that is. Yeah. So your Punisher is probably going to take more turns than he currently is. I can see that with that 5-man squad beating 1 node pretty reliably. But there could be other reasons to core for this character. Let's talk about that real quick. This would be in-game, and it would be the Mutants vs. Zombies leaderboard. This is going to be a leaderboard that does have tech gear on it for Professor X, gear tier 20. And in order to get points for it, we need to, well, buy a Daredevil Modern Orb, as you see I did. Shame on me. Playing in War, which everyone is going to get 120,000 points for that. And then finally, earning X-Coin payday orbs from Sword Satellite. Most people have already accumulated. Any of those you're going to get, they probably already have them. Spending cores. So spending cores could be a good way on Silver Sable to help you for these leaderboards. I'm only at 304 right now because I'm in Zone 1. We've had more wars than other people have had. Right? A lot of people don't have 115,000 like I have so far. So you could drop cores on Silver Sable in order to get higher on this leaderboard, but I don't think it's the solution for raids. So I would take a look at the tech characters you plan to bring for Professor X and see if that kind of meshes well with what you value cores for. I myself, I'm probably going to be saving my cores for Hitmonkey. I'll core for Hitmonkey simply because I value getting 100% of the raids faster. And the faster my alliance can get Hitmonkey, and maybe I'm going to do this and nobody else in my alliance will, and I'm just going to miss out on it. But if not, if everyone in my alliance unlocks Hitmonkey very quickly, we'll be able to do 100% of the raids just by 2-tapping the bio nodes and everybody else just taking one lane and just zerging it, because we can kind of sim everything. And with the full Vigilante team and a big Punisher, I think you'll actually be able to sim it, and I value that much, much, much more. So yeah, I'd probably save my course for Hitmonkey, but it does make sense to go hard on that leaderboard if you want the tech gear. As you saw, I bought the Daredevil Modern Orb. That's how I'm kind of not going for the cores here. I'm just aiming for like top 1500, and I'm gonna get a good, like, I think it's 200 tech gear for doing that, and I'll be able to do 2.5 characters. I'm probably gonna do 2 Orcus members and Lady Deathstrike because she is a 2 cost. But pushing for the leaderboards doesn't feel bad because this guy is crazy, guys. I didn't do a video on this because I didn't really get to play test him too much, but his stats are insane. If you look at him as a controller, homie is a striker, but he has nearly 1 million damage, 14 million life. Like, he is a absolute stat monster. His abilities, when you read them in this context instead of like in the PDFs that we get, it's so much scarier when you read it like this, because you get a much more kind of in-depth look at him. And I'm allowed to give the general vibes. I can't show any gameplay, but give the general vibes of this guy. Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. Like, he absolutely wrecks nerds. In the same breath, you will not be able to put Professor X on defense with trash and ruin your opponent's day. Professor X is vulnerable to stuns before his turn. Okay? So he stops speed bar. He stops you from getting speed up. He also stops you from getting speed stat, I believe. But at 127, if you can go in there with a character that can stun him, he does not shake off stuns. You don't need stun trauma, just one stun. He then pops out of his stun, his turn meter go back down to 0, and all of his effects are gone. You can actually nuke him from there. So if you don't have trash with Professor X, it's going to be a problem. If you do have trash with Professor X, same thing with Odin, right? When people put Odin with Hero as Guardians, and you go in there with like the right team, you can just nuke him down. It's not a problem. That's the same thing for Professor X. But if you put a really mean team with Odin, that's rough. And so I think that Odin was maybe one of the first mythical characters since like Dormammu, where they hit kind of every marker people wanted to. Amazing offensive weapon. Very dangerous defensive weapon, but it doesn't ruin your day unless you give a lot more resources to that defensive team. And I think Professor X and Odin kind of hit those marks, and so I'd give kudos to them for that. We'll see if somebody finds some sort of wonky, crazy solution that ruins this, though. But hey, Black Cat, like 130 speed or something with a stun, I don't think they're ever going to be able to rework her, at least not anytime soon, because they don't want a character that goes that fast to be able to land the stun of Professor X. So what do we have? We have like Havoc. Hitmonkey's tied with him, so that's not great. I'm sure there's a couple other options that have slipped my mind, but I'm excited for this guy. I'm definitely pushing to get this guy as fast as possible. He will be the deciding factor in Crucibles. If your opponent has him and you don't, you're done. Same with Wars. If the enemy alliance has more of him than you do, you're done. In Arena, you're definitely done. Like I just said, if you put a good team around Professor X, it's not pretty. It's not pretty in the funniest of ways. And in Arena, you get your entire roster, so it's not exactly hard to put a good team around him anyway, right? Alright guys, this is it for this video. Let me know what you think about the store stuff. Let me know what you're approaching Silver Saber. You're just going to pop all your cores for this leaderboard event. Screw the raids. Hitmonkey be damned. You'll get them when you get them. And are you still hyped for Professor X? I know we're in the Age of Annihilus. I know like the whole story thing. It's all Age of Annihilus, Age of Annihilus. I'm telling you, when you see this guy and when you get this guy, you're still gonna be like, okay, like Professor X, he's worth every single minute of doing those horrible raids to get the gear tier 20, okay? And kind of balancing these leaderboard events, he's worth it. Oh boy, is he worth it. All right, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. The next video, which I hope will come out tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, is going to be my Crucible defense and my thoughts on the Crucible rooms heading into our first trial, which has Overpowered in it. All right, guys. Take care. Have fun. I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.